Happy Saturday to you, everyone. Hope you're having a great day here. In 1977, when I entered the military, I must admit, I was a cocky young man. Yeah, and why not? After all, I'd been raised since the time I was a little boy under the tutelage of the toughest man I've ever known in the Alaskan wild. So when I stepped into the military, I walked in there with all this cockiness, and my attitude was, you should be flattered that I decided to join your midst. And by golly, the military was flattered. So much so that the first thing they did was inform me that I had just, by joining their midst, I had just surrendered my constitutional rights. And it had been replaced with what's called the Uniform Code of Military Justice. They also let me know that there were rules and boundaries. And should you sway away from those rules and boundaries, no matter how cocky you are, you'd have to pay the man. Okay, so the man, I found out the hard way, has many ways and accepts payment in a variety of ways. Some of those ways range from everything from an STMF, known as Simple Task Mine, and I'll let you fill in the F. And what that looked like was you'd have a circle with a ton of rocks, weighing 1 metric ton, in that circle piled up neatly. And you'd have to carry those rocks one at a time, because they're just big enough to be able to do that, all the way over 100 feet to another circle until you'd gotten the entire ton over there stacked up nice and neat. And as soon as you got that done, you had to do it all over again, take them all the way back. And that little torture continued, depended upon your attitude. Or they say, for guys like me, the real cocky guys, another form of torture. And it was called the 8-count bodybuilder. In other words, it looks a little bit like this. So here we go. First step, 1, squat down. 2, thrust your legs behind you. 3, lower your chest to the ground. 4, bring it up. 5, spread your legs. 6, bring them back together. 7, back into a thrust. And 8, jump up. And when you do those, your chest had better hit the ground and your boots had better leave the ground. Otherwise, it doesn't count. So after one time when I swayed away from those rules and boundaries that I didn't really feel like those weren't for me, were they? They had to have been for someone else. Certainly they had to have been for a lesser soldier than I. Yeah, they said, Bryan, you're going to pay the man. 200 8-count bodybuilders wearing about 25 pounds of compact gear. Let me tell you something. After 50 of those, you'll say you're sorry. After another 50, you are sorry. After another 50, you will pledge eternal allegiance to the devil himself just to make it go away. But after another 50, two of those, by the way, wouldn't count because if I got to spread my darn legs. Well, that's from doing burpees and not doing 8-count bodybuilders. But after that final 50, you will enter into this state of enlightenment. Yeah, and I'm not talking about that nirvana state where you sit there all day long floating on a cloud, watching winged purple elephants go floating by. No, I'm not talking about that crap. I'm talking about where those rules and those regulations slap you right in the face and you develop all sorts of strategies to keep from ever having to pay that man again. That's the enlightenment I'm talking about. Yeah, that's the way the military handles it. When I strayed from the rules, their established boundaries, they didn't treat me like this all positive dog training thing. They didn't say, Bryan, I tell you what, we'll just ignore your bad behaviors. Or we will offer you a promotion if you stay within those boundaries. How about that? Oh, hell no. I had to pay the man. And I'd like to say that that one trip to paying the man, that one deposit I made of 200 8-count bodybuilders wearing all of that gear was enough for dear old Bryan. But it wasn't. It took me a couple more tries and a couple more payments to paying the man before I finally started to get my act together. And I'd like to think as a result of that, I was maybe less cocky, but more confident. After all, if I could survive that, Lord God, I could survive anything. So I was definitely more confident, a little less cocky. I was obviously smarter. Yeah, because I had finally figured out what I had to do to stay within their boundaries and not have to pay the man. And I became, lastly, extremely obedient. And because of all of that, I actually did very well in the military. Was decorated many times with many medals, had accelerated advancement. Yeah, one day I became the man. And I had young guys under my tutelage, under my mentorship, having to pay me. The table had turned. And I got to watch them grow to smart young men, obedient men, into kids that turned into men who are not so cocky anymore, but confident. And you know what? Dogs, being very similar to us, living in societies, emerging themselves, being plucked out of their world where they had constitutional rights like me and put into a world with us humans. Now all of a sudden there's rules and there are boundaries. You can't just jump on me and everyone else. You can't lunge at people. You can't bite people. You can't bite little children. You can't bark your head all day long. You don't get to pull me till it's absolutely miserable and unsafe. There are many things, there's many rules here in this human world that you have to abide by. You cannot sway from that path. And should you sway from that path, oh no, I'm not going to always ignore it. And I'm definitely not going to offer up a piece of chicken as some way to tempt you to do right. No. Like me, you got to pay the man. And what does paying the man look like in the dog world? Everything from no to a leash correction. Or I'm just going to put you up for a while. It's not a timeout. I just don't feel like dealing with you. But you are being removed from all the stimulus that maybe you find tempting. There's many ways to do it. But the most important thing is that you establish rules. And when you establish those rules, and you make the dog pay the man for breaking those rules, you will create, like me, a very confident animal. Yeah, how can you not be? There's a minefield in front of you. You can see every darn mine out there. So it's up to you whether you step on it or not. So you're very confident. You know the material. You know what to do. And you know if you do it in such a way, with such amount of speed, there will be a great result at the end. I got promoted. I got choice of duty stations. They get treats. They get the ball. They get time with you. They become smarter. Smarter animals they are. Yeah, not so cocky. Confident. Smarter. And obedient. And the most important thing of all of this can be done without the dog incurring the trauma that you hear some people speak about when you use aversive stimulus. Oh, God forbid. Kidding me? Those 8-count bodybuilders, there was no trauma. None. They were builders, facilitators, to change a cocky young guy into a soldier that could be counted on when the crap hit the fan. Yeah, you bet. I've saved many lives, human lives, when the crap hit the fan. I did it. And I've put this message out in about 20 different ways up to this point, day 230 of my 365. But it is by far one of the most important messages I can keep putting out there. You've got to get your dogs under control. So why would I stop doing all of those other things? Lunging at people, trying to bite people, jumping on people, barking, pulling people, going potty in the house, chewing on your sofa. The list goes on and on and on. Why would I stop that? If I achieve a benefit from it, I feel like it's good, I feel like it suits me. Why would I change it? The change has to be forced. You got to pay the man. And then when you pay the man, you're good to go. Nature has a lot of ways to pay the man for a wolf. Oh yeah, go bite that porcupine. Go ahead. That'd be a one and done. You won't pay that man again. Go step on that thin ice in the middle of October when it's only like 8 thick. Go ahead. If you survive, you'll never pay that man again. That's it. Go ahead and approach the front of that elk. Yeah, where there's teeth, antlers, sharp hooves. You won't do that again. The list goes on and on. Nature has her ways, and dogs even have their own ways. That's it, Brian. Keep coming over here. Just a little bit closer. There you go. I'm going to bite you. Yeah, they have their ways. Everyone and every system on this planet has a man that has to be paid. Yeah, he's there. He's waiting. And one way or the other, the man's going to accept payment. I just pray that the payment isn't the needless taking of life of a dog, because you are afraid to make the dog pay the man. So the last man that dog saw was wearing a white coat with a needle in his or her hand. Guys, it's not trauma. It's called being responsible. And it's called being real. So hey, we all got to pay the man. Hoo-yah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 199 more to go. Let's get her done. Pay the man if you have to.